Hello there and welcome to another exciting episode of Fargo Retro. My name is Eric and I'm so excited to be back with you guys. I know it's been a while since my last in-person video here. I went back to school this last semester and I'm not gonna lie, the spring 2018 semester was one of my best. No grade lower than an A. Super excited to be back at school and finish that part of my life up and move on to bigger and better things. But way more importantly than school, I'm so excited to bring you guys another pickup video. Now, from the last pickup video, I still have a lingering giveaway, and I have not forgot about it. We are going to go ahead and do a drawing here. We got about 3 times as many responses as we did last time, so it's real exciting. If I can keep getting that kind of response, I'm happy to keep giving stuff away. So that being said, we'll go ahead and we got all the names in the hat here. We're gonna shake it up a little bit. You see them flying up and out on these Post-it notes. This is actually not fair. This is the second time I filmed it, so the person who I picked the first time may not be picked the second time, so I'm so sorry if you're not the same person. There we go. What do we got? Video Gamer. Alright, so go check out Video Gamer's channel. He is also a local individual here in the upper Midwest. He is actually the person I drew the first time as well, so that worked out really well, so I don't have to feel bad about him not getting the game, because I didn't set the video to record it. So Video Gamer, I'll be getting a hold of you and we'll sort that out. So, the main event here, the pickups. I have about 5 months worth of pickups. It's gonna seem like a lot, but if, some people are putting up 20 games a month. I didn't quite hit that number. But we're gonna start out, sort of chronologically. I didn't really pick anything up until March, and in March we actually had a local collector who we'll refer to as Strandy. He hosted a very large gathering at the Baymont Inn and Suites in Fargo, and we had a nice big swap meet, and a lot of people traded a lot of things, and I got some goodies myself. Most of these I think were trades. I think I did do a little cash on a couple of items. It's been a while, I don't quite remember, but we'll cut that noise out and we'll get right to the games. So first things first, the absolute highlight of the pickups. From the Fargo Strandy Con, Final Fantasy II Complete in Box. Final Fantasy is my favorite series of games. The Complete in Box RPGs are just real nice to have. So it'll have the manual, have the map, all that jazz. I really am basically only missing Final Fantasy III Complete in Box, so that'll be my next big target for that series, and then my Final Fantasy collection's more or less complete. So very excited to have that, and that kind of gives me that goal to work towards Final Fantasy III. Also picked up SimCity for the Super Nintendo Complete in Box. I've already had SimCity, but I did not have it in the box. It's just a fantastic strategy game. Very chill, great relaxing game. Good for a beer or something like that. Just hang out on a Saturday afternoon and play some SimCity and just be totally zen out. It's amazing. I have Crystallis here for the NES, and Crystallis is, a lot of people call it a Zelda clone, but as Daria Plays said once, if Zelda's not an RPG, then Crystallis is not a Zelda clone. It has an experience system, it has progression, has, finances and inventory and all that, and it's a lot of fun, so I'm really looking forward to spending way more time with that. Only spent a couple of minutes with it, just testing it out, and a lot of that's, from memory from back in the day. I picked up one last Complete in Box RPG here. I got Tactics Ogre, the Knights of Lotus, which is a strategy RPG for the Game Boy Advance. And I definitely really enjoyed that game as a kid. I emulated it. I didn't have it, but I'm very excited to have an actual copy of that game. So I also got Rune Factory here for the Nintendo DS. Rune Factory is like a fantasy Harvest Moon. And I actually got it for the PlayStation 3 as well, one of the sequels. I've really enjoyed the DS version of the game. It's been a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to hopping into the PS3 version once I complete the DS one. I got Super Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo. I hadn't had this for the longest time. It's one of those ones where where, you know, it's like the Contra, where it's very common, but everybody wants it. So you're gonna pay, you know, between $20 and $50 for it. And I got it as part of a trade. It was a good deal. Got some stickers on it and whatever. That's, you know, acceptable. But, you know, the guy I traded it with is, you know, cool dude. Looking forward to more interactions with him in the future. Also got Romance of the Three Kingdoms 1. This is one of those Koei strategy games I'm looking for. I really like the Koei games. If you know, so you'll probably see a couple more of those here as the video rolls on. But you know, I'm not really sure how good it's going to be on the NES. I haven't had a chance to play this yet. The Super Nintendo ones, the Sega Genesis ones are less playable than one would like. But a lot of the mechanics, you know, the user interfaces, you know, definitely show their age. But a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the gameplay is still very good, and so that's what I'm hoping to get out of these. Got my first Nintendo Switch game, Has Been Heroes. I don't have a Nintendo Switch yet. You know, I was gonna buy one right after finishing class here, but my girlfriend said, "You better not. You may get one for Christmas," so that's what we'll hope for. It'll be a while until I play Mario Odyssey, but when I do get that, I'll have this as well. It looks like sort of an action RPG style game. You know, looks fun. I traded one Sega Genesis platformer for the Hudson's Adventure Island 1, as well as the book for it, which is pretty fun. You know, I liked some of the sequel Adventure Islands a lot more as a kid. I never owned any, but I rented them quite a bit. I liked when you could ride the dinosaurs and everything like that. That was a ton of fun. And yeah, you know, I know the first one's a little bit different than those ones, but I'm looking forward to getting into that. It's definitely one of those games from my childhood that I haven't really tried to experience again, and so I'm looking forward to that. I also got Armored Core for the PlayStation 1. You know, and a lot of people aren't super excited about collecting disc-based stuff, but Armored Core is something I played a lot as a youth, as a preteen and a teen. You know, it's a customizable robot fighting, mech fighting game, and you know, there's just hundreds of parts. You can be a tank, you can be like hover, you can be real light, jump around. It's a lot of fun. So you know, I have a couple of those games on PS3 and PS2, so I'm looking forward to completing that series here over the next couple of years. And then the last item I got from the StrandyCon, I don't talk about my big box PC games a lot, but Fallout 1. I don't think this is the first printing. I think this is the second printing, but it's still just, it's got the flap, it's got a giant booklet that goes with it, the Wasteland Survival Guide. Let me see if I can pull that out here for you real quick. But yeah, I already got that. Ooh, look at that! Like with a ring. This is an actual, like if I were in a bunker and I was expected to live, you know, 120, 130 years after nuclear war, this would be the kind of item I would expect to be with me there. So, yeah, hopefully we'll be spending a little more time showing off some big box PC items. But, yeah, so that's basically my haul from the StrandyCon. If that's something you're interested in, definitely feel free to comment on this channel. I can put you in touch with the individual who organized it, and you know, I think it's something he'd want to do again in the future. So if you're in the upper Midwest, interested in trading video games or hanging out or whatever, definitely feel free to post on my page, and we'll get you connected with that guy, and we'll hopefully do that again next year. So speaking of collectors, though, one of the things that you know, has been really helpful over the last couple years here is getting to know other collectors and getting to know what they're interested in, and trying to keep an eye out for that kind of thing. So there's two individuals, one I met prior, and then one I actually met at the meetup, who'd had some stuff for me. So the first guy, you might have seen that I had purchased Robotrek from him. You know, I'm sure I showed that in the past. It was a great RPG by Enix for the Super Nintendo, and so it looks like he had some more Super Nintendo RPGs he wanted to get rid of. And very proud to announce that I now have Lufia 2 and Secret of Mana. You know, just both fantastic games. You know, Secret of Mana has been getting a lot of buzz recently, but in my opinion, Lufia 2 is a much better game. Played Secret of Mana with a neighbor kid who lived down the street, but that same neighbor kid had Lufia 2, and I like playing that way more. Even though, you know, Secret of Mana, you get to play with them, but, you know, hey, why do co-op when there's a better game you can selfishly play yourself? So very excited to get those from, I believe Aaron is his name, so good on you, buddy, and definitely get at me if you have any more of those RPGs to get rid of. Another collector, and I didn't quite put together that we'd met, and all that jazz. But once we got to talking, we kind of figured it out. And he hooked me up with the 7th Saga here with the map. It's a sort of a roguelike JRPG here for the Super Nintendo, and I never had it as a kid or whatever. I emulated it in my teenage years, and it was really hard. And so I'm looking forward to trying this again as an adult now that I'm a little more seasoned, a little better at the games. I also got Romance of the Three Kingdoms 2 for the Sega Genesis, CIB. Again, nice box, nice clamshell, all that, But this is the highlight of my Koei collection for today. Uncharted Waters for the Super Nintendo CIB. It's more of an RPG than a strategy. It's like an RPG / business simulator where you're kind of a merchant, or you're just a captain of a ship, and you can be a merchant, or you can be a pirate. You can fight in the Navy and whatever. And New Horizons with sequel is one of my favorite games of all time, and so I'm very happy to have that. I'll have to maybe talk to Strandy, see what I can do about getting his New Horizons from him, but I don't think he has that anymore. But so that's some of the stuff I got from some local collectors in town, and very happy to get those. Alright, I did one eBay purchase just because it was a pretty decent price and it was a nice package. It's something that I've been looking forward to. Breath of Fire 3, which I just needed the case for. I still have my original game from my youth, but I traded the case. I don't know what happened. Let's just say I don't know what happened to the rest of the game. I just have it loose. So now I have it CIB, as well as the strategy guide for it. And I'm finding now as an adult, it's not that I need the secrets or anything like that. It's just I don't have the time to play a JRPG like I used to. And so when you actually physically have the strategy guide for a game you're playing, you can drop a bookmark in it and you could just move on. You know what I mean? If you don't touch it for months or even years, you just have to pick your strategy guide up. You can read everything you are up to that bookmark, and then you're pretty much caught up. So I definitely recommend, as you're getting older, if you are a JRPG fan, make sure you are getting strategy guides where you can. They're going to just become harder to get, as time goes on. And they really do help you, when you can't just marathon a game, when it takes you 6 months to beat a JRPG, something like this really is invaluable. So, this was an eBay purchase, it was, market-ish, little, like, it was a discount. I don't try to spend market on anything, but, so very excited to have that in my collection. Hey there, you might see a fun little cut because this is the 3rd time I recorded this video. But I think I figured out where we left off, and I think I was just done yammering about strategy guides. So strategy guides, get them. Next up here, I've been doing some shopping at Electric Underground. They don't have a ton of stuff recently here in town, but one of the days we were there, they had some pretty reasonably priced older games, and they had a buy 3 get 1 free or something like that. I believe we actually went in to go get a DVD. So we ended up picking a couple of games up while I was there. First off, the good. Got Civilization. It's another strategy game from Koei here in the Civilization series. I really like Civilization, as you'll see coming up. And again, it's another Koei game. And with the bad. Hoops. Great cover art. Terrible game. Very tough. It just, it didn't make sense what was happening, and it was very bad, I'm not gonna lie. As well as Super Spike Volleyball. This one's a little more fun, but again, very difficult. After about the 5th or 6th set, or 5th or 6th serve, the computer just sends them back to you every time as a spike, and I was not improving enough to do that, but I think both those games were less than, $5 each, and not a bad price for a Koei strategy game either. So, snap those up. Speaking of local then, so we'll do, found some PC games locally here. When my nephew was here, we went out, he was here over Memorial Day. We went out to the lake near Brainerd, as well as did some flea market shopping. We also checked out what was in town, and we didn't find much of anything. I found some PC games. I found Simcopter and Sim Tower, both jewel case Maxis games. They kind of look like stuff you'd find at the Book It or the Reading Fair or whatever. Those those ordered the educational catalog schools would hand out, and they'd be a $45 version of a $10 paperback you'd convince your parents to buy. And I bought Simamped from one of those, and it came in a case just like this back in the day. I got the movies, which is a great sort of, you simulate running a movie lot from the silent film era on, and it's from Lionhead Studios. They did Fable, and it's also, you know, Peter Molyneux's company, so historically they were a Bullfrog, theme hospital, theme park, all that kind of stuff. So very good game. It's surprisingly difficult to get to run on modern systems for whatever reason. It's old enough that it comes on DVD, but it's new enough yet that it just has a hell of a time, you know, working on my copy of Windows 7. So still working on figuring out how to play the movies, but I've always really enjoyed that, you know, my memories of that game. That was a lot of fun. We also got Civilization 1. It's, you know, CD-based, dual case 1 or whatever. I don't think I've ever technically played Civilization 1. I obviously got it for the Super Nintendo. One of the highlights of the Super Nintendo version that I didn't talk about is that it works on the Super Nintendo mouse peripheral. I have one of those. Kind of a collecting goal is to get all the mouse games and play through and beat those. And so it's exciting to have Civilization 1. It'll go great with a couple of big box PC games I purchased in town recently. Guy was selling these. I got all these for less than $20 here. So we'll start off with the Civilizations then. Civilization 2 and 3. So I don't know what, if any, physical copies of Civilization 4 there is, and there probably isn't any for 5 or forward. You know, since Steam became the primary marketplace for computer games, they stopped making a lot of physical copies of stuff. But great big beautiful boxes, nice art, and really cool manuals and stuff to go with them. So I'm very excited to get those. He also had SimCity 2000 and SimCity 4. So the 4 is the base game and the Rush Hour expansion. And I actually already have a version of the special edition of this, but the version I have now is nicer. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that. But, you know, the big box PC games are hard to come by around here. You know, I absolutely love, you know, Maxis games and Civilization, Fire Access games. So I'm very excited to have all those. Those are, you know, series I've loved. You know, those are versions of the games I've played a ton back in the day, and real excited to get those. Alright, and I swear this next part is not sponsored content. This is just me talking about a store that I've really enjoyed going to a lot recently, and that's Revolver in downtown Fargo. It's kind of a vintage store. Thrift store is not quite the right word because you know, it goes for vintage sort of, you know, women's wear and sort of collectibles, and something that the owner of that, she's been collecting a lot of 80s and 90s toys and nostalgia and that kind of stuff. And so she's been really beefing up her video game selection. So I've actually made it out there a couple of times recently. A non-video game related pickup. I got this Rappin' Michelangelo. I think so. Yeah, Rappin' Michelangelo here. So look at that. Look at how fantastic that is. This was just a couple of bucks at Revolver. I also got some games, and we'll just start off with some of the ones that I was more impressed to find there. I got this Wizards and Warriors Fortress of Fear, as well as Ultima. And so, you know, it's always fun to see Western RPGs, Western action RPGs on the Game Boy. I haven't played any of these games yet, but I did watch some footage of the Ultima. Ultima looks surprisingly fun for, you know, it's a little more action versus the RPG component compared to the other Ultima series games. But, yeah, I mean, they're both very impressive. The Ultima was $10, but the other one was $5, and those are very reasonable prices on those games. I also got Chuck Rock for the Super Nintendo, sort of a platformer, and it's kind of fun because, you know, I showed Adventure Island. There really aren't a ton of... There were a lot of games in the late 80s, early 90s set in the Caveman era, and you don't really see those anymore. I know for a fact that they had a copy of Caveman games there. I haven't picked that up. I don't have it in my collection. I just have no interest in it. Wait till it goes a little cheaper. But yeah, Chuck Rock should be pretty interesting. It's always, you know, Super Nintendo needs more platformers. Like I need a hole in my head, right? But they had some great Nintendo games while I was there too. Tiger Heli. You know, the genre I'm trying to get into the most is shooters. So anytime I see a shooter, you know, anything that's $5-10, I'll pick that up. So Tiger Heli looks like a lot of fun. The Sunsoft Batman game, which is, under my understanding, is one of the better licensed games of all time. I never played this as a kid. To be honest, I didn't really even like Batman as a kid. I liked the cartoon series, but mostly the first live action Batman stuff I liked was actually the George Clooney movie that most people thought was terrible. But I don't know, I liked Mr. Freeze. Time to put you on ice. You know, all that jazz. Good stuff. I also got MTV's Remote Control. Remote Control was a game show on MTV in the late 80s, early 90s, hosted by Jon Stewart, of all people. I remember renting it as a kid. I don't really remember playing the game much, but I do remember watching the show a little bit as a kid, and when I saw it at the Blockbuster, we had to rent it, and I remember there being some pretty goofy character creation options, so looking forward to giving that a try and seeing how my pop trivia from the late 80s and early 90s geared towards 20 to 30 year olds. See how that holds up. One other thing I got from Revolver, BioFreaks. It's a fighter for N64, and that $5 price point is something where if it's not something I have and it's something that either looks interesting or is something I may play in the future, I definitely want to try and pick up. So happy to add BioFreaks to the collection. So as I mentioned, my nephew came up for spend Memorial Day weekend with us, and you know, we went out and found some old games here in town. But the highlight of the game hunting with him was the Shady Hollow Flea Market, and that's out in Detroit Lake, starting Memorial Day weekend, and you know, every Saturday and Sunday they're on, or something like that. I only have gone once prior, and I definitely want to make it out for opening season this year. Ran into a YouTuber out there, and you know, just me being a big awkward nerd, I was in the middle of negotiating. I didn't get a chance to catch up too much with him, but you know, hopefully you found some good stuff. Saw your Twitter post on it or whatever, and those are some quality titles. You know, apologize for being a big weirdo. I was just in the middle of negotiations, and I thought I could play some hardball. One guy had some really great stuff, and you know, when I ran into that YouTuber, I was right in the middle of negotiating with him, and I'm not gonna blame you for messing up my vibe, of course, but you know, pretty aggressively, you know, I tried to get it to more reasonable price. He had good stuff, but you know, I'd set a budget and couldn't quite meet, so I just left everything there. Went and searched around the floor a little bit more, the flea market, and didn't really find anything. So I made my way back, and a couple of the titles that I really wanted were gone, and so I'm kicking myself now that I've looked up the prices on one of them, which was Complete in Box, Game Boy Advance Shining Force, Resurrection of the Dark Dragon. That game alone was really the difference in price between what I ended up buying and not. So I left that on the table. I feel kind of dumb. Also lost the Complete in Box Game Boy Advance Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls. So hopefully Strandy picked those two up, and I'll be able to get them from him down the road. But I did end up going back. Couldn't leave the flea market empty-handed, and so I think this is kind of the prize jewel of my pickups here, and that's this beautiful Complete in Box Paper Mario. You know, the box is very pristine, a little bit of bowing on it, but that's you know, just shows that somebody used it, but not a ton. You know, yeah, I just absolutely love this. Great game. I have a copy of the game already, so I should probably be flipping that copy of it, since I don't, you know, need 2 copies of the game. But yeah, getting Complete in Box RPGs have been real fun recently. It wasn't really something I focused on when I started collecting, but just as I've gotten into it, it's kind of seeming to take up more and more of you know, my wants and my desires. But something else that was there was called Rebel Star Tactical Command, and this was something I remember really wanting when it came out. I remember a lot of hype about it because it was basically an XCOM. And some of you may go, XCOM, isn't that game that came out in 2011? And no, XCOM, in fact, was a computer series from Microprose in the very early 90s. And it was very dense and thick, and I played it with my dad. And, when that came out, that was the closest thing to an XCOM game in probably 10 years. And so, very excited. I've never run into it in a while. It's always been something that, I've looked out for, and now that I finally have it, I'm very excited. And I have a feeling it's better than the remakes. So I showed off my Breath of Fire 3 earlier. I was able to get Breath of Fire 4. I actually had this on PC as a kid, not PlayStation, but I never really got into it. I think that was probably just because the PC controls were a little rough, but now I just need Breath of Fire 2, and I basically have everything for my Breath of Fire collection. I also got 2 PlayStation 2 games. I got Innocent Life, A Futuristic Harvest Moon, and Dirge of Cerberus, the Final Fantasy VII sequel. Even though I'm playing through Final Fantasy VII, I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to like this, just because a lot of Final Fantasy, Square doesn't really do a good job of revisiting stuff. Sometimes it's best to just leave well enough alone. But yeah, as I was showing you guys the Rune Factory, which is the medieval Harvest Moon, this is the futuristic one. I'm very, very looking forward to this. This is something that I remember coming out on PSP that I really wanted, but I didn't have a PSP at the time, so it's cool that this exists. I'm very much looking forward to playing that. So that's what I got while I was at the Shady Hollow Flea Market, so definitely recommend checking that out. Unless you're a reseller or a trade baiter, in which case, don't ever go there for any reason. But spent some time up at the lakes with my nephew, and then I had to take it back. And when I was in Aberdeen, I went through their pawn shops and whatever again. And that poor town, it's down to about 2 pawn shops, no video game stores. I was able to find a couple of things here. The second pawn shop I went to didn't have anything but these manuals. I offered them 50 cents for these here. So I got Duke Nukem 64 in fair condition, and I got Rayman 2, The Great Escape, in really good condition. So, if you're interested in complete in box, collecting, sometimes buying just a part of it at a time and holding on to it's the way to go. And then the only games that I found that I was really interested in, really this was the only one I was interested in, it's called Battle Unit Zeoth, and it's by Jalico, and it's a side-scrolling mech shooter, and I'd never really heard of it before, but the store that I went to, the other item I got here was NBA courtside with Kobe Bryant, and they were priced pretty aggressively, $5 for a generic sports game. Everything had eBay prices on it, except for this game, and then sometimes that's what you need to do, is you need to look for what's not priced. And so I asked what that game was and how much it was, and she said, oh, there's no sticker on it, let me look it up. And as soon as she said it, let me look it up, I was like, I don't know what it is, I don't know the price on it, but I don't want her to look it up on eBay. So I just said, hey, I'll take the Kobe Bryant game, I'll take that, it has 2 for $10. The store owner said that was fine. So definitely I like Kobe Bryant. I actually like N64 sports games. They're pretty solid. So that wasn't a huge deal, and I ended up, this turned out to be like a $10, $15 game or something like that. So I ended up coming out ahead on that transaction. So last thing, the sad thing, I want to tell you, there are sharks in our midst, people, here in the upper Midwest. The last 2 games I purchased, I was very excited to get. I saw an ad, same guy selling 2 games I was interested in, so I tried to package them together, and we came to a pretty reasonable price. And sometimes, stuff is too good to be true. So Mario Party 3 and Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I ended up getting them both for $70. That's fairly reasonable. I went out and met the guy in the ass end of Fargo. There's nothing I hate more than driving in Fargo. Just come meet me downtown. I don't understand. It's right in the middle. But anytime I ever meet up with anybody about video games, it's always Osgood and 52 or whatever. It's like, don't live out in the woods. That's your fault, not mine. But the second I picked them up, I could tell. I could tell these are not real games. You just even holding them, they weren't real games. But I'd already driven like an hour. The guy gave me a story that just made me think, oh, maybe they're imports, maybe they're from Mexico or another region. I messaged the guy back and said, hey, these aren't real. He said, I told you that. And I said, no, you didn't, man. I would buy garbage stuff. They work. I'm not going to say they don't work. The guy didn't give me my money back. Which sucks. I've been looking for Conker's Bad Fur Day. I have the box. I have the manual. I'm just looking for the game now, and I have that CID. And that's really what it was, as I just was not patient. This was really bad. The second I picked them up, I knew they weren't real. I was just hoping he didn't know what he was talking about. And, well, he didn't. I'm sure he didn't. But by the same token, they were just not real games. So that one's on me. So, yeah, you gotta pay attention, you guys. I promise you, the second you touch these things, you can tell they're fake. It's so weird. I mean, this garbage $5 game feels, you just holding them, you can feel they're different. So, so I do have a copy of Mario Party 3. I do have a copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day. Conker's Mario Party 3. I had all three of them, but I ended up trading Mario Party 3 to get a game I really wanted, and was hoping to make that back and all that jazz. So that's kind of disappointing. But that could be your win. If you want to go ahead and win a free counterfeit, terrible, fake game that is not real, to the point where I may even go ahead and mark it on the inside as fake, let me know. Say, hey, I want that fake game in the comments below. Share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. Every share gets you another entry on this horrible fake game. So, Video Gamer, you went ahead and won the 2 Game Boy Advance games from the previous drawing 4 or 5 months ago. I'll get a hold of you on that. And if anyone's interested in the fake game, say, hey, give me that fake game, boy, in the comments below, and we will go ahead and do a drawing on our next pickup, whenever that will be. So I will go ahead and shut off the entries here after 7/1/18. But if you're interested in this awful fake game because some jerk guy gave me a fake game, put it, my loss can be your gain. So that was a lot of stuff. I'm gonna have to edit this all together. I had to shoot it a couple of times, but I thank you for watching. I hope you have a great summer, and I gotta get to playing some of these games. Anything you like here, anything you don't like, let me know in the comments below. Love to see you guys on Twitter. Come check out the live streams here. We're gonna be doing those on the Fargo Retro page until we get our new internet, and then at that point we'll be launching our Twitch stream on y'all. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Eric here on the Fargo Retro channel, bringing you these exciting pickups, and I can't wait for the next time we get to share some more games together. All right, everybody, take care.